Lewis Hamilton will start Sunday's Japanese Grand Prix from pole position after dominating proceedings through qualifying at Suzuka, setting a new lap record in the process. F1 Drivers' Championship leader Hamilton arrived at Suzuka eager to extend his 34-point advantage over Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel, and took a big step towards doing so by scoring his 71st career pole position. Hamilton turned in a fastest lap of 127.319 in Q3 to beat Mercedes teammate Valtteri Bottas, meaning he has now scored pole position at all 20 circuits on the current F1 calendar, having previously missed out at Suzuka. Hamilton offered a sign of things to come in Q3 by breaking the previous Suzuka track record held by Michael Schumacher in the second stage of qualifying, going almost a second faster than the previous benchmark. Hamilton was able to find yet more time in Q3, putting him over 1.5 seconds clear of Schumacher's best time from 2006. Vettel was left to settle for third for Ferrari, but will gain a place by virtue of Bottas' 5-place grid penalty, leaving the Finn 7th on the grid. Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen qualified 4th and 5th for Red Bull, around a second off Hamilton's pace, while Ferrari's Kimi Räikkönen ended up P6. Räikkönen will also drop 5 places due to a gearbox grid penalty. Force India finished as the leading midfield team in qualifying at Suzuka, taking 7th and 8th in the final order with Esteban Ocon and Sergio Perez. Both drivers will rise 2 places on the grid by virtue of Räikkönen and Bottas grid penalties, as will Felipe Massa, who qualified 9th for Williams. Fernando Alonso qualified 10th for McLaren, but will start at the back due to a 35-place grid penalty for changes made to his Honda power unit. Despite knowing he'd dropped to the final row regardless of where he qualified, McLaren ran qualifying as usual for Alonso, inadvertently knocking teammate Stoffel Vandoorne out in Q2 after the Belgian finished 11th, just 0.029 seconds off a Q3 berth. Nico Hülkenberg finished 12th for Renault, 2 places ahead of teammate Jolyon Palmer, while Kevin Magnussen led Haas-Charge in 13th place. Carlos Sainz Jr. propped up the classification in Q2, taking 15th on the grid for Toro Rosso. A heavy shunt for Romain Grosjean in Q1 brought the first stage of qualifying to an early end, with the Frenchman careering off the circuit through the S's in the first sector and causing a significant amount of damage to the front end of his Haas car. Grosjean thankfully walked away unharmed, but was knocked out of qualifying in P16 after the session did not restart due to there being just 1 minute left on the clock. Pierre Gasly dropped out in 17th place for Toro Rosso ahead of Williams' Lance Stroll, whose sole flying lap was allegedly hindered by a block from Perez that will be investigated by the stewards after the session. Sauber drivers Marcus Ericsson and Pascal Wehrlein rounded out the order, but will gain positions on the grid due to the litany of penalties that have already been awarded. The Japanese Grand Prix is live on NBCSN and the NBC Sports app from midnight ET. Follow at Luke Smith 1. Valtteri Bottas closed out practice for the Japanese Grand Prix leading the timesheets for Mercedes despite crashing early in FP3, completing just 9 laps in total on Saturday morning. Mercedes was eager to bounce back and respond to Ferrari's Friday pace at Suzuka, and did so early on as Bottas and teammate Lewis Hamilton rose to the top of the order with quick laps on the soft compound tire. Bottas' early time of 129.055 proved quick enough to give him P1 come the checkered flag despite only featuring in the first third of the session. FP3 at Suzuka was interrupted by 2 red flag periods, the first coming after 20 minutes when Bottas hit the wall at the exit of Spoon, leaving debris strewn across the track. Bottas was able to limp back to the pits, albeit with significant damage to the right rear corner of his Mercedes W08 car that meant he was unable to get back out on track as the team completed repairs. The session returned to green 10 minutes after Bottas shunt, only for the red flag to return not long after when Kimi Räikkönen ran wide at Degner 2 and slid into the barrier, damaging the left-hand side of his Ferrari. Friday's limited running meant many teams did not chase outright lap time in FP3, with Bottas' lap going unbeaten through the session as Hamilton finished just 0.014 seconds further back in the second Mercedes. Title contender Sebastian Vettel did flirt with a quick lap late on for Ferrari, but ultimately finished 0.3 of a second behind Bottas on the super soft tire. Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo completed the top 5 for Red Bull, while Esteban Ocon led the close-net midfield in 6th for Force India ahead of Renault's Nico Hülkenberg. Ocon and Hülkenberg's respective teammates, Sergio Perez and Jolyon Palmer, completed the top 10 behind McLaren's Fernando Alonso, who finished 8th fastest. Qualifying for the Japanese Grand Prix is live on NBCSN and the NBC Sports app from 2 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. Follow at Luke Smith 1.